All right. I am Yellowbird Yellow Bill, and this is Resiliency Part 4. Quick review. Resiliency is the ability to grow and thrive in the face of challenges and bounce back from adversity. This includes the four pillars of resiliency, which are mental, physical, social, and spiritual. We have gone over goal setting, hunting the good stuff, ATC, energy management, and avoid thinking traps. You can go and look at the previous videos if you need to go back and review any of that stuff. This week, we're going to go over detect icebergs, which helps identify and evaluate core beliefs and values that fuel our proportion, emotions, and reactions. And then we're going to go over problem solving, accurately identify what causes the problem, and identify solution strategies for those problems. All right, detecting icebergs. This is used to identify core beliefs and core values that fuel what we say to ourselves in the heat of the moment, and at times lead to emotions and reactions that are out of proportion. All right, your heat of the moment thoughts. It's like an internal radio station. They are on the surface of our awareness, and we can easily tune into them. Icebergs are your core values or your core beliefs. They are what you aspire to. Your core beliefs are what you believe to be true of yourself, others, or the world. Moving from the heat of the moment thoughts to what is beneath, you can move from heat of the moment thoughts to your core beliefs, values, by asking yourself simple what questions. Like, what is the most upsetting part of the situation for me? What does the situation mean to me? What is the worst part of the situation for me? And assuming that all that is true, what makes that so upsetting to me? The goal of these questions is to help you discover what is driving your emotions and your reactions. Once you've discovered what is driving your emotions and reactions, you can think through issues as the flexibility of your value and belief, whether you need to have a conversation with someone or you can change your value or belief if desired. What questions tend to work better than why questions? Because what questions generate curiosity and openness, and why questions often lead to defensiveness and rationalizations. Some examples of icebergs are like the belief that you yourself are like strong, or that people can't be trusted. You should respect your elders. The world is a dangerous place. People should be treated with dignity and respect. Asking for people for help is a sign of weakness. People should finish what they start. People shouldn't lose control of their emotions in stressful situations. That's one that I really believe, and I try and teach my kids a lot, is to control your emotions. And these are all, good examples of icebergs. You can think of your own. Take some time. Think of your own icebergs, your own core beliefs, like what you think of, the world around you, the people around you, and yourself. All right. So this is the detect icebergs. This is the first worksheet. This is similar to an ATC worksheet. An example up here, describe a recent, vivid, and meaningful activating event. I lost all, I failed a PA account from trading with pure emotion. All right. I've done it quite a few times. You get in a trade and you just believe that you can't be wrong on this setup or this trade. I did it today. On my very last trade of the day. I was like, I'm absolutely right. This can't be wrong, even though it was going the opposite direction and it failed. The setup was no longer there. I kept holding it, saying, well, this is going to work. I can't be wrong. All right. So you lost your PA account. Your heat of the moment thought is, I lost all this money because I lost control of the emotions. Your thought theme is loss, which would go right here. Your emotions is sad, reaction becoming unmotivated. The other heat of the moment thought is, I'm never going to be successful at this. A thought theme is a negative comparison. A lot of times I see it in the chat. People are comparing themselves to others within the group. The emotion could be anger. And then a reaction could be continue to revenge trade on other accounts. I mean, in the beginning, I was guilty of, I would fail an account and I would pull up my credit card and buy another account immediately, or a reset for that account immediately. And there were some days where I would be sitting at work and my I wouldn't even put my credit card away. It would just be sitting there by the keyboard. And I hate to admit this, but there was one day I went through like 4 accounts in a day, just angry as hell, revenge trading, thinking that I could somehow bring it back. And I completely lost control of my emotions. All right, so once you have that filled out, you go through and you use the what questions in any order and repeat them as many times as you need to help identify your iceberg. All right, so question 1, what was the most upsetting part of failing? Answer 1, I completely lost control of my emotions and was unable to stop myself from revenge trading even when I knew I was doing wrong. Question 2, what does it mean to you that I couldn't control myself? The answer, that I need to work on myself and my environment before trading. Sometimes, we get behind the computer and we start trading and we get upset about a trade or something like that. And then we fly off the handle completely, or I do, and it has nothing to do with trading. Maybe, someone pissed me off earlier that day at work, or I've got, some stressful event coming up or something like that. And that bleeds over into trading. So much of our life in general will bleed over into trading. Question 3, what is the worst part of failing for me? Answer, it compounds the failure that not only did I lose the money, but I lost control of myself. Question 4, assuming that all of this is true, what makes it so upsetting? I'm so upset because a person should be able to control their emotions in stressful situations. And right there is my iceberg. You should be able to control your emotions in stressful situations, because I believe once you lose control of your emotions, you've lost control of the entire situation. All right. And then next part of this worksheet is You can do this part of the worksheet with a partner or self-reflect. You just basically go down and go through these questions. Discuss if you still value this iceberg. Consider whether or not the iceberg is overly rigid in some situations. I still believe that controlling one's emotion is very important, especially in trading. And I believe that you have to be rigid with that. It's not that the iceberg here is the problem, because I feel like if you don't have control of your emotions in trading, you can't trade successfully. It's just not possible. Discuss if your iceberg is getting in your way in some situations and what specific actions you would take if you want to change your iceberg. My iceberg is giving me a negative outlook on the situation. So the fact that I'm not able to control my emotions is triggering and giving me a negative outlook on the situation itself. Discuss what you can do to change your emotions or reactions to make these types of situations go better for yourself. To take a step back once I feel myself getting out of control. To get the emotions under control, or to, if I feel like I'm not in a good emotional state to even start, to not even begin trading, to just stop before it starts. I mean, if you've got something going on with work or school or something like that, you shouldn't even trade. I know we all sit here and we feel, well, I don't want to say all, don't want to talk in absolutes. The vast majority of us feel like we have this clock ticking. We have this pressure, like hey, I've got to make this much money on this PA account before the first so I can make my first withdrawal. Hey, I've got to do a minimum of 10 trading days, so I've got to make my goal on the evaluation within those 10 trading days. I mean, you see it in the chat all the time. All right, and then discuss whether there is a more direct conversation you need to have with someone and what the conversation is about. If I can't control my emotions trading going further, I need to look at other aspects of my life. Once again, this goes into how everything in your life bleeds over into your trading, whether you realize it or not. It will. All right, detecting iceberg key points, that aha moment. Stop when your beliefs help to explain your consequences, your emotions, and your reactions. Icebergs can create thinking traps. Sometimes icebergs push us into one or more thinking traps, which is something we discussed in the last class. What, not why. What questions lead to depth? Why questions lead to defensiveness? Self-awareness. Self-awareness is the primary target of the Detect Icebergs module. Detect Icebergs is used to identify and evaluate your core beliefs and values that are driving our emotions and reactions. Use Detect Icebergs when your emotion reaction seems out of proportion and it is undermining your performance or effectiveness. Use it with others only when appropriate relationship exists. All right. You don't want to be using this with, some random person. That's why you can just try and do it yourself. It always helps to have a person with this to discuss things through. And that's part of the resiliency training, is working on those relationships with people in your life, because it helps you gain perspective and look at things from a different point of view. All right, ask yourselves a series of what questions to identify the iceberg. Once the iceberg is identified, think through issues such as flexibility of your values or beliefs, whether you need to have a conversation with someone, and how you can change your value or belief if so desired. Excuse me. All right, problem solving. Problem solving is a tool for identifying the factors that cause the problem through critical questions and evidence. Effective problem solving, it helps you focus your thoughts about why the problem happened. You identify the contributing factors that cause the problem through critical questions and evidence. Evaluate which factors are controllable. Develop action statements that will bring about positive change. The confirmation bias or Velcro Teflon effect causes us to notice the evidence that fits our thoughts and beliefs and to miss the evidence that contradicts our thoughts and beliefs. All right, Velcro for evidence that matches our thoughts and beliefs. And so when we find evidence that lines up, it will stick like Velcro. And then Teflon for evidence that contradicts our thoughts and beliefs. You want to try and stay away from that, from the Velcro and Teflon effect. All right, fight confirmation bias or the Velcro Teflon effect. Distance yourself from your thought. Write it down. If you write it down, a lot of times, instead of just thinking through, actually writing it down, it will allow you to think through it differently and kind of detach yourself from the thought. Ask fair questions to gather evidence for or against your thoughts. You have to really step back and look at it from different angles and everything. And that's something that, you know, if you have someone that you can run this by, it really helps out a lot. And then consulting with others. I mean, that's another thing that I want to work on with the boot camp, is working with each other. Definitely. Because a lot of this resiliency stuff you can do on your own, but it works exponentially better if you are bouncing it off of other people. All right, so here's the first problem solving worksheet. What's the problem you're trying to solve? I've been getting stopped out of all my trades and losing money and becoming frustrated. What caused the problem? This is your heat of the moment thought that could be causing the problem. And then, you take this pie chart here and you divide up, what your heat of the moment thoughts. Like, one heat of the moment thought is, I'm not smart enough to be successful in trading. Another one is, I don't have what it takes. So like, if you feel like it's a 50-50 split, you just take this pie chart, cut it down half, one side, put one over here, number two over here, list those problems here. I'm not smart enough to trade. I don't have what it takes. All right. Number three, what did you miss? With your partner or self-reflecting, use the critical questions listed over here. How did others or circumstances contribute? How did I contribute? What specific behaviors contributed to the problem? An example of this would be, my system doesn't fit these market conditions, because the market will go, no system is perfect in all market conditions. Some people's system really works well with scalping, smaller moves. Some people have systems that work real well and on trend days and stuff like that. All right. Another thing would be, I haven't been following my system. We're all guilty of it. You get in a trade. I'm guilty of it today. My first trade of the day. It wasn't within my system, but I took it anyway, and it luckily went my way. I'm chasing entries. you know, I'm guilty of that a lot. That was kind of what I did this morning on my first trade. I kind of chased it. And then, you know, not all of us are charting savants like J Rose. I mean, some of us, myself included, I mean, I look at J Rose's charts and I'm just in awe of what that man puts on his charts and how he comes up with it. All right, so here on step 4, you're going to list your evidence for or your evidence against these problems, okay? You're going to use the problems from step 2 and 3, and you're going to list your evidence for it. So, like, my system doesn't fit in these market conditions. Evidence for that is, you know, my system is set up for trend days, and lately the conditions are, you know, it's been a rotation or it's been chop. You know, I'm chasing entries. Evidence for it is that I'm not entering at a specific point that's within my system. You know, I'm entering at the top of the bull flag instead of the bottom of the bull flag, or vice versa with bear flags, or the middle of the flag, or I'm not entering on the top of the trend line. I'm waiting for it to go up if on a trend up. You know, maybe you're waiting for it to hit the trend line and then move up some for that confirmation, and then you enter along, and then it goes back down to the trend line and stops you out. That would be, you know, the chasing entries. All right, 5, list what is actually happening and place it in the pie chart. Place a star next to things you have influence over. All right, so for this, give me a second. Sorry, allergies have been killing me lately. So for this area, you're going to list the factors that from step 2 and 3, and then put it in the pie chart. What is contributing to the problem? So here, let's say I'm chasing entries, you know, 30% of the time. Put a line here, and then put, you know, chasing entries is number 3. Number 3, you know, I'm not a charting savant like J Rose, you know, a smaller slice, 5 or 4 rather. Haven't been following my system down here to this. My system doesn't fit these market conditions. All right, so you'd put an asterisk next to, you know, I'm chasing entries and I haven't been following my system. Those would be 2 good examples of things that you have control of. You could have some control of being a charting savant like J Rose. You could work on that and become better at charting. There's always things we can have, you know, we can always improve on. But like, my system doesn't fit these market conditions. There's nothing you can do about market conditions. And this goes into gravity versus grip. With resiliency, you have to recognize gravity versus grip. The gravity of the situation, if you have a ball in your hand and you are holding it and you let go of it, it is going to fall. That is gravity. That is just science. That it is going to happen every time. You cannot control gravity. You can't. The only thing you can control are the things you can grip. Like holding that ball up away from gravity, you can control that. But as soon as you let go and you don't have any more influence on it, it's gone. Gravity has it. So that is something you wouldn't put a star next to, because you cannot control or influence the market conditions. The only thing you can control or influence is not entering trades when the market conditions are such that your system doesn't work. Which leads into step 6. What can I do about it? You would use your identify SMART action statements to fixing the problem. Once again, I think SMART we covered in the first or second class. These action statements are specific, measurable, action-focused, realistic, and time-bound. All right. So my system doesn't fit these market conditions. Don't trade the market conditions. That's a way to fix that problem. I haven't been following my system. Get more disciplined and follow your system. I'm chasing entries. That leads back into following your system. Not all of us are charting savants like J. Rose. You can just learn to chart. Just continue to study, hit the books, and keep learning. Those are all good, smart, actionable goals to try and fix those problems. All right, so the key principles of problem solving. Slow down. For problems that don't require quick solutions, slow down and get more information. Take some time, mull it over, and everything like that. None of us should be in a position to where our trading is our sole source of income. That is definitely not a position you should be in, nor a position you want to be in. So if it's not your sole source of income, then what is the hurry, really? You need to slow down, look at these problems, and take it slow. That was one of my big problems with trading, is I was looking at it through this lens of, I'm retiring soon. I'm not going to have a job. I need to become a full-time trader. I need to make all this money so I can do X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. And I completely dismissed the fact that I have this huge safety net with my pension and everything like that, to where I'm making just as much after I'm retired as I was when I was retired, or when I was active duty. I was completely blind to that fact, and I just had this pressure that I needed to be successful in trading. I needed to be successful, and I needed to be successful now. And once I took that pressure off of myself is when I really found success. All right, identifying the causes. Use the critical questions to identify the causes that you initially missed. Avoid the confirmation bias or Velcro Teflon effect. The confirmation bias can interfere with accuracy. Work around it. All right. Remember, the Velcro are the things that confirm your bias, and Teflon are the things that you ignore that kind of debunk your bias. Mental agility is the primary target for problem solving. All right. Use problem solving to increase flexibility and accuracy in thinking about the causes of problems and to develop effective solution strategies. Use problem solving when you are confronted with a situation that requires a thorough understanding of its causes in order to most effectively solve the problem. Use critical questions from avoid thinking traps to identifying the factors that cause the problem. Use the tips for avoiding the confirmation bias or Velcro Teflon effect to gather evidence to determine the accuracy of your thinking. The skill of problem solving enhances your mental agility so that you can flexibly and accurately think about the cause of the problem. By increasing your ability to see problems accurately, you will improve your problem solving. All right. Questions. Go ahead. Type any questions in Futures Premium. Actually, let me get this going. All right. The boot camp. Okay. So the boot camp is going to start sometime around August. It's going to be 6 weeks long. I'm going to take 3 groups of 2 members each, maybe 2 groups of 2 members each, depending on how many people want to join. But I want to keep it a smaller number to give more focus on those people in that group. I'm going to have Chef make our own little section in the Discord. And basically it'll have our own little chat in there in our voice section. We'll probably get on voice Tuesdays, Thursdays, and just talk about things. We will go over resiliency and how it applies to trading every day during the week. So Monday through Friday, we'll do some worksheets, discuss some things, look over worksheets with each other, look over problem-solving techniques, and just go through all of the modules and apply what we've learned through these classes into our trading every day. And the members that do the boot camp are going to be required to do homework, because this is for you guys, and I want you to be successful at it. And the only way you can be successful at it is actually doing it. You can't just, go through and just kind of coast through it. It's not online college. You can't go on Course Hero and just find all the answers, because the answers are, within you. All right. So now, questions. Go ahead and drop any questions in Futures Premium, or you can unmute your mic and ask your question on voice. All right, give me a second, Mitch. Okay, so on the trend line that I drew for the 4th trade today, what made you start the line at the base of the shooting star and not the peak? All right, so I did draw originally at the peak and it came down. So it was at the top of the wick, and then it went down and it had busted through. And when it had busted through, it busted through pretty strong at that point. If you look at the trend from, and then once it busted through there, I went base to wick, and then it came back up and it showed weakness there. And then it had that wick up there, and then it started coming down and showed weakness, and that's when I entered the trade, is when it showed weakness there. I will draw my trend lines body to body, wick to wick, body to wick, wick to body, and just watch the price action. And once it starts reacting to that trend line, then I will enter that trend, that trade on that trend line. It's just because it touches the trend line, I don't enter all the time unless it's a strong trend line. I kind of wait for it to start showing other factors of, reacting. Yeah. My charts have a lot of trend lines on them. My recaps do not. I only keep the trend lines that I used on a trade on my recaps, because it would just be way too messy and cluttered if I kept everything on there. All right, Chandler, for someone who is transitioning to futures, what tips as a profitable trader would you give? My goal is to have proper risk management, start small, and look for good setups. What would you identify as good risk management, especially with a small account? Typically in options, I would risk 15 to 20% a trade to get about 30%. All right, so your risk reward, you're going to want, I try and get at least a 2-to-1 risk reward. As far as how much you are going to risk, I don't have a set percentage like in options where you have 15 or 20%. And I don't have a set point value like Chef has on ES. He'll risk 2 points. I kind of let the chart tell me what to risk and everything, and stuff like that. And then my profit targets are set. For NQ, I take every 10 points. But yeah, your goal there, to start small, look for the good setups, and then have that proper risk management. That you're right on track right there. I mean, you know what to do. We all know what to do. It's just following that and being able to follow the plan, follow the actions that we say we're going to take and everything like that. That's the hard part. That's where most of us struggle. Yeah, but as far as tips, I would say have a plan, stick to your plan. All right, Dr. Steve, by taking every 10 points, do you split your cons up evenly or have another system? So what I do is I enter in multiples of 3. So usually I'll enter in 12 contracts, 9 or 12 contracts, depending on whether I want to go light or heavier. And I will have the ATM strategy already set up to take 3 at 10, 20, 30, 40 if I'm entering 12. And then my stop's at 100 points, and I will immediately move my stop to where I need to on the chart. And I'll have it just set up that way to where it takes points. And then once I add, if I add to a position, then I will, sometimes my take profits will overlap each other. Then I'll just start dragging them down and moving them on the chart when I get those larger positions of like 30, 24, 30 contracts. So yeah, it's it's by multiples of 3 on everything. I know Coach has found, and some other people have found success. They'll enter like 5 contracts, and then, their first 10 point, they'll take 3 contracts, have 1 contract at 20 and 1 contract at 30 points. So, the same way with prop firms. That's how I traded, was taking every 10 points. When I was in an evaluation or had was within the drawdown trying to build that buffer on a PA account, I would use a trailing stop. So I would I would use a 20-point trailing stop. Now that on my personal funded account or my PA accounts with a buffer, I'll keep my stop at break even. And that's how the other day I got the 300-point runner, because that one trade took off and I just let it go, kept the stop at break even, and then switched over to a different account and then just traded that while, the one account was just running. But if you're doing an evaluation for a prop firm or trying to build that buffer, I believe you need to take profits aggressively and keep a trailing stop tight. And don't get upset if, it comes back, hits your trailing stop, and then continues to run, 20, 30, 40, 50 points or whatever. That's one of the great killers of our trading mentality, is that we will sit there and play the could have, would have, should have game. Yes, Pocahontas is definitely recording The Real Housewives. But all right, do you ever trade the overnight hours or mainly regular hours in pre-market? So a couple months ago, I traded Globex quite successfully. Recently, I have not found much success in Globex. Sunday night in Globex, I made a decent trade, continued to trade, ended up red, carried the red into Monday, and Monday I ended red. So I've been trying to dip my toe back into Globex and overnight hours. I have not found success with it lately, so I've been staying away from it. But when the conditions are right, I have found success in it. A lot of people do find success with it. I can't remember who it is that is always posting in gains. about overnight. Oh, Kai and I Make No Sense. They're always posting in there overnight, doing good things. Coach does really good Globex also, but not myself. It's not my cup of tea at the moment. Yeah. ES and MES is, I mean, it's real slow, very slow during Globex. It's real slow. If you ask me, it's slow during regular trading hours too. I'm so used to NQ and CL. My bit of advice for you for Globex is be very careful at 2000 Eastern, especially on CL or NQ. That's when Asian markets open up. And I've gotten burned quite a few times on CL. You know, I'm in a short or something like that, and then all of a sudden a Hulk candle comes in because markets opened up overseas. And for you youngins, let me give you a bit of advice. You got to find someone as supportive as Pocahontas is for me. She always giving me crap all the time. Never a dull moment.